Hi there, friend. Welcome to Landscape Elevation. I'm Charlene Gray. On this channel, I visit with you each week to talk about all things landscape design. Whether you're just getting started with your side hustle or you're already a pro and have a number of seasons under your belt, I hope the things I talk about are helpful to you on your journey as a landscape designer. So today, I'm going to talk about the thing that no one wants to talk about when it comes to getting landscape design projects done. And it's a 5-letter word, and that word is money. Say the word money or budget, and it's like everyone suddenly starts to squirm like they have ants crawling up their pant legs. But I get it, and you probably do too. When it comes to other people paying you for your services and or spending other people's money, things get weird and they can get awkward. But here's the thing, you still need to talk about it. Why? Because for any work that you're getting hired to do, you want to actually get paid for it. And you definitely don't want any hard feelings between you and clients when it comes to money. Because ultimately, they're the ones in charge of the money that goes to pay for the project, including you. And since you're working together on this thing, you guys need to be on the same page together. And yes, you want to get paid for your time, but maybe more importantly, you also want to get reimbursed for any cash or even credit that you've put out for materials. You need to recoup that money. So you can't go with clients not paying you. So if things go south and your client doesn't feel like they've received what they were being billed for whatever reason, there is a chance they may not make their final payment to you. And that can become a real headache and way more awkward than simply talking about their budget in the beginning. So I hope I'm making the point that talking about money up front and early in the process is super important for your livelihood, for your relationship with your clients, and ultimately for your reputation. So to show you how I keep money front and center with my clients, I'm going to share with you 2 things that I do to help break the ice on this topic and keep a positive light shining on my client relationships. There are just 2 things that I do that I'm going to share with you. And if you have experience with this and have found different ways that work, I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to have you share them in the comments. So my 2 things are very basically, number 1, throwing an anchor, and number 2, transparency. So throwing an anchor. What do I mean by this? Well, the phrase is often associated with negotiating tactics. And in our case, throwing out an anchor is one way to get a clammed up client to actually say how much they want to spend on their project. Because they know, they just aren't saying it. They don't want you to know for some reason. But basically, I need them to say a number, as in a budget number, just any number, in order for me to understand and decipher, sometimes in an instant, whether or not their project is a good fit for me, and ultimately whether I'm a good fit for them. So here's an example, but first just a tiny bit of background. So let's say I've given my client my new client questionnaire, and they've filled it all out, except they left blank the question asking them to identify a budget range for their completed landscape project installation. Now, to be fair, I understand that most people don't have the foggiest idea about how much a new landscape installation can cost. In short, the answer is usually a lot. In fact, especially most recently, most folks are shocked by the price. But I would also like to think that they do have a very clear idea about how much money they have in their financial accounts that is informing them about how much money they can afford to spend on a new landscape installation. So the fact is, many people simply may not want to tell me their budget because they think that if they tell me, either number 1, I'm going to needlessly spend every penny of that budget, or number 2, I'm somehow going to know how much total money they have. And most people, don't share this kind of information even with their closest friends and relatives, so why would they tell me? Now the truth is, both of these things are just plain not true. I'm not going to spend every penny of their budget needlessly. Yes, I may spend every penny, but it darn well won't be needlessly. It's to get them what they want. And I won't be able to tell how much, I won't be able to tell just from their budget number how much total money they have in their coffers. Anyway, I still need to get a number from them. Why? Because I need to know whether this job is worth my time and my brain power. If their budget is low, it may not be worth my time. But also, if their budget is high, I need to make sure I have the time and the headspace in my upcoming schedule to deliver top-notch service to this client, because that's what they're expecting. So, all right, on to my example. How do I get a client to say a number when they won't offer one? And the answer is I throw an anchor. During our next face-to-face meeting, we're talking through the questionnaire that they took the time to fill out. And when I get to the budget question, I ask them if they've come up with a realistic amount of money they'd like to spend on their project. They say, well, we just don't really know how much things cost. And I say, well, based on my experience and seeing the condition of your property and the things you've listed as your wants and wishes and needs, I could see a project this size costing between $350,000 and $400,000. There, the anchor has been set, and now one of two things can happen. One, they're completely aghast. Their jaws drop, their eyes pop out of their head, and they say, oh, we were thinking more along the lines of $50,000 to $75,000. And I say, oh, okay, well, that's good to know. And then I proceed to do with that information what I will. Basically, my options are to keep or drop the job based on the budget numbers they finally say and what I know about what they want in their project. If they want all this stuff and they can only spend up to $75,000, I know just in my gut that that's not going to work. Okay, so the alternative is, to the $350,000, $400,000 anchor, is they say, oh, okay. Basically, they have no response. Saying $350,000 to $400,000 didn't seem to impact them in the least. And then I proceed to feel silly for even asking and then pushing the subject because budget, whatever it is, isn't going to faze them. There are people out there where the budget doesn't faze them once you say a big number. So either way, I got what I needed. I now have clear budgetary information that came directly from the client that I can use now to determine how to proceed with this project. I will I will add here that even if your client has mentioned T&M, translation, time and material billing from the start of the project, you still need a top-line budget number from them. In most cases, T&M does not translate into the sky's the limit or blank check, and likely there will come a point when the client finally gets sticker shock. So my point is, even if they insist on time and material billing and everything's fine, just bill me as you go, it's probably still worth it to try to get a top-line budget number from them upfront in the beginning. All right, so moving on to the second thing I make sure to do. So let's say their budget seems in line with the kind of landscape they want for their property, so I decide to take on the job. The next thing I make sure to do is keep everything that has to do with money as transparent as possible. So transparency means getting all of the money details out in the open. The sooner the better. The sooner I get all of the details out in the open, the sooner discussions start shedding light on new ideas, new possibilities, and new negotiations that might need to open up in order to pave the path forward to have a better project outcome. So being crystal clear in my communications about the work that is going to be done and how much it costs does a few things. Number one, it creates trust. My clients realize that they can trust me, and this is huge. And number two, it gets everyone on the same page. When everyone is on the same page, expectations are kept at a doable and achievable level. So transparency is essentially important in the conversations that have an uncomfortable aspect to them, like when I have to break the news about a contractor being behind schedule, or that the hardscaping build is taking longer than anticipated, so it's going to cost more. the sooner I say this, the better. And because being upfront and truthful and transparent with my clients as soon as new information like this arises prevents these uncomfortable conversations becoming big, ugly surprises later on. And surprises break trust. And in case you haven't heard, lies also break trust. So yeah, don't lie. It's just not worth the stress. So that's it. Now you know how I handle initial budget discussions with clients and how I keep the topic of money and budget crystal clear throughout my project installations. I know I struggled with this for quite a while early on, so I sincerely hope this information was helpful to you, especially if you're starting out. If you try these out, I would love to hear about how they went for you. So thank you so much for joining me and watching Landscape Elevation. And if this content in the video interests you, you may find value in my free guide I've made. It's a PDF. It's all about getting started with your design process. The link is below. It's completely free. And also, I love hearing from folks in the landscape design community. If you're a landscape designer and you have questions or a conversation to start, please share them in the comments or reach out to me directly from my website, landscapeelevation.com. All right, thanks again. Take care. And I hope you have a great week.